Waving out in front for Guentzel. Nedeljkovic with a save. Jarvis to the rebound. Can't get it through. O'Connor with a block. Now Burns. Side of the net. And Jarvis missed it. A yawning cage. Aho spins another one out in front. That's intercepted in Pittsburgh. Could have numbers if they hurry. Well, 2 golden chances for Carolina to take the lead.
Welcome to the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold. Thank you for spending some time with us on YouTube. We're here after every Hurricanes game, just so I can hydrate, drink a little water, and relax, even though the Hurricanes lost 4-1. Excuse me. That was delicious. Disappointing night. You heard scoring chances from Guentzel and Jarvis and Necas. Man, Carolina had some opportunities tonight. Most of the good ones, really, in the second period. And that's really all Carolina had tonight, I think. And I'm not sure Pittsburgh had that much more. They had more. But Hurricanes really only played one good period. Second period was excellent. Didn't get enough out of it. And Pittsburgh ended up with 2 goals on 5 shots in the period. We're going to talk about all of it. And that was the game. I thought if Carolina could have gotten the second goal to make it 2-1, then I actually think they win the game. Because I didn't think Pittsburgh had a lot of danger in them tonight. The numbers prove that out. 20 shots on goal? What was it? Was that the total for Pittsburgh tonight against Carolina? Hurricanes ended up with 40. I think Pittsburgh had more than 20. It was like 25 or so. I'll look at the number in a second. I was much more concerned with what Carolina did tonight because Pittsburgh didn't even try hard. They had the best scoring chance, I think, of the third until it was too late. Or at least until Carolina pulled the goaltender. And then the Staal and Necas tries with about little over 2 minutes left, maybe right at 2 minutes left, before the O'Connor empty net goal made it 3-1. I thought the Crosby chance in the third period, and the save wasn't difficult because Crosby hit Kochetkov with the puck. But that was a great scoring chance. Really shocked that Sid didn't do more with it. But anyway, that was kind of the game that it was. There wasn't, for all of Carolina's puck possession, there wasn't a ton of super scoring chances. And Rod Brindamore said it after the game that really didn't make Nedeljkovic work hard enough. I mean, 39 saves. I mean, stat sheet's going to look awesome. And Ned was good. Ned was really good, obviously. But Carolina really didn't put enough pressure on him to get another goal. And that's probably the story of the game. So I've got about 7 or 8 things I want to touch on briefly in our time together. Remember, we're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. Siding, got it. Roofing, got it. Windows, got it. Entry doors, storm doors, they got it all. If it goes on the outside of your house, and for the sake of argument, windows are an exterior home improvement, aluminumcompany.com. All right, I've got some questions we're going to go through. We have not forgotten those. I've been able to kind of scan through things early, and I'll probably go through 2 or 3 questions. But let's get right to it. Let's start with the good. Can we start with the good? I think we should start with the good. Let's start with the top line. This was Jake Guentzel's return to Pittsburgh. He scored 219 goals in 7.5 seasons with the Penguins. Clearly a great goal scorer. He only has 2 goals in his time with the Hurricanes, but he's played so well, nobody's complaining. And I did find it interesting. Don't know if how many of you heard the post-game show, but Guentzel, they put him in a difficult spot. Granted, he's your guy and he's coming back in a different uniform, and you want him to say wonderful things about his time in Pittsburgh and how much Sidney Crosby meant to him and all of that. But, what's it like playing with Aho as opposed to playing with Sid? What did they want him to say? Sid's, one of the top 10 players that ever put on skates. You want do we want him to say, hey, no, this guy I'm playing with now, man, he's much better than Crosby? They want him to say that, or do they want him to say, man, nobody compares to Sid? Hey, you got your new centerman sitting two stalls away in the locker room. So there was that. But I did find it interesting. They said, can you see yourself coming back here? And again, I mean, the obvious answer really is sure. But he can't say it. Can't say it now. So Guentzel just says, I really like it in Carolina. I wouldn't read too much into that other than, yeah, he should like it in Carolina. It's a great team, playing for a great coach. He's treated well. Area is going to be dynamite if he decides to make Carolina home long term. And I think Carolina will do whatever they can to try and re-sign him within reason, ... within reason. Because I don't think they're going to go to like $11 million a year to re-sign him. I can see him going to 10, but it's going to be tough. I wasn't going to talk about it here, and I'm not going to get deep in the weeds here, but think of the guys that Carolina has to sign. I mean, Seth Jarvis is getting a contract. And if I were the Hurricanes, I would really try to make that an 8-year deal. I really would. And I think he's going to get more money than Andrei Svechnikov. And he deserves more money than Andrei Svechnikov. And he's a better player than Andrei Svechnikov. How good is that? Just think about that for 1 second. That the Hurricanes drafted a player in the middle of the first round 3 years ago who is better than Andrei Svechnikov. He's better right now. And he's about two. By the way, happy birthday, Andre, 24. Seth's 2 years younger. Year and a half younger, I think. The future is so bright for him. And Andre's going to be fine. I'm not worried about Andre. He's got some things to work through that we'll get to in this broadcast. So it's just a weird position to put Guentzel in. But again, we're going to start with the positive. That line continues to be a positive. We're going to talk about forward lines for at least a little bit here. But that's the one line that that should be an absolute dead pipe, ironclad lock cinch, whatever. Guentzel, Aho, and Jarvis has been amazing. They were great tonight. Everything but a goal. Everything but a goal. Best scoring chances, Jarvis and Guentzel had them. Couldn't find the back of the net. You could certainly argue that Guentzel maybe was trying to score. Wanted to score so badly. Not just because, not like he's trying to beat my old team. Stick it to him. It's not about that. It's that, he's playing in front of friends, right? His wife and kid are probably still living there until, maybe he's only been here. Maybe they're with him in a hotel. But look, it's not easy. It's not easy, but he's got tons of friends. How many people were in the stands wearing Jake Guentzel sweaters? So sometimes you can want it a little bit too much, but I thought he played really well. I thought Aho was great. I thought Jarvis was great. They were my 3 stars of the game. You can put them in any order. I had Guentzel 1, Aho 2, Jarvis 3. But ultimately, there were no goals produced by that trio. So hard to say that they were, over the moon, but they were really good. And that line continues to be really good. I think the most impressive thing is that in now 6.5 games together, they really haven't allowed much. Forget about all the puck possession and all the goals that they've scored as a group, or, at least been on the ice for, because there have been some goals scored by defensemen, but they really haven't allowed squadouche to the other team. So whomever was on the ice with them tonight, they did not allow, they allowed one scoring chance. I think they had 15 of their own. They had 5 high danger chances, basically all in the second period, and allowed none. Expected goals against was 0.05, so basically nothing. And their expected goals was about 1. Should have had 1 tonight. Probably should have had 2 tonight. Maybe the best chance was the Aho to Jarvis backdoor pass that he just shot it wide. Seth just shot it wide. But that line's been absolutely awesome. Let me just read you the numbers from Natural Stat Trick for the night. Shot attempts 29-7 in favor of. Shots on goal 12-3 in favor of. Scoring chances 15-1 in favor of. High danger, grade A scoring chances in favor of 5-0. The line's been amazing. Going into the night, they had an expected goal share of 60%. They really have been very stingy, and they have not, at 5-on-5, at even strength, have not allowed, I see the goal go in, which is why Aho can be plus 30, and so much of that is lately. Aho is like in his last 8 games a plus 11. So was Guentzel. It was 9 games. Jarvis plus 9 in that span. So, yeah, right now Sebastian Aho is a plus 30 on the season. So that line was outstanding. I thought Staal, Martinook, and Teravainen was also very good. But to a point, there were too many opportunities, especially for the captain, to, score a big goal. And that's a night you really need somebody to figure out a way to get the puck in the net. Staal just couldn't get his stick on the puck tonight, which is a little bit disappointing. There were 2 chances. One, right off the Jacob Slavin post to start the second period. I mean, the rebound basically comes to him, and he whiffs it. Now, I think Mike said I don't know what Mike said, but, I mean, he might have just swung and missed entirely. The puck ended up on the side of the net. Maybe he got a piece of it, and it went wide, but he didn't get much on it at all. And that was an opportunity. And then late in a 2-1 game, ultimately the shot becomes a Necas shot. But it was, to me, even though it was in tight, very little chance of that getting in. But Jordan Staal, right on the top of the crease, Aho passes it to him. And Staal, it just got it like inside of the heel of his stick. You have to figure out a way to get something on it and elevate it and get it up over Nedeljkovic's pad, because that was the tying goal right there. The tying goal was on his stick, and he couldn't get it to go. And that's unfortunate, but such is life, I guess. But that to me, that's the game, right? Your opportunities to score in a game that is relatively low event. You kind of give away you kind of give away 2 points there. Because you didn't really make Pittsburgh do much in the third period because you didn't really push the issue. And Rod said it after the game, we didn't make Nedeljkovic work hard enough. And he didn't. And they didn't. There were a lot of shots in the third period where they had 15 shots on goal that, whether they were good opportunities or not, frankly, they were just They're better if you've got bodies in the way. There was none of that tonight. So let me just posit one theory as to why there wasn't. It's been a lot of hockey. And there's been a lot of emotion too, right? Kuznetsov going back to Washington, Guentzel going back to Pittsburgh. These are human beings. Not an excuse, but I think it explains maybe why some ultimate energy as a group, because I think you get affected as a group. Remember Jordan Staal's, 1000th game? They stunk. Of all the games to stink, why would everybody stink on Jordan Staal's 1000th game? Because sometimes, because you're human beings, the emotions they just drain you. And I think there's been a lot of hockey. Carolina played 6 games in 9 days going back to the game in Washington on Friday night. And they come home and play, I thought, I'm trying to remember exactly, I thought a good first period, really good first period against Toronto, and then maybe a decent half of the second period, and then basically hung on, right? Just let Freddie Anderson do all the work. And that wasn't good enough, really, but it got a win. So it kind of masks the fact that Carolina's probably running on some fumes right now. There's 2 more games before they get a 4-day break. They will go from Saturday night in Montreal until Thursday. I think the Thursday game is against Boston at PNC Arena. And that'll be the next game that they play, right? You'll get 4 full days off. Maybe they might practice twice. If I could predict it right now, they don't practice Sunday, they practice Monday, don't practice Tuesday, practice Wednesday, and probably don't even morning skate Thursday. So they'll get 2 practices in between the game Saturday and the home game Thursday. They start a 3-game homestand that Thursday. And then that's it for the home regular season. The next time you see them at home will be a playoff game, and they missed an opportunity to clinch a playoff by getting no points tonight. They'll probably clinch on Thursday against the Red Wings, but in terms of the standings, kind of ceded some ground today. Rangers won in overtime. They're on 100 points, so Carolina's 3 in arrears, and New York has a game in hand. Best Carolina can get to right now is 115 points. The Rangers have 10 games to get 15 points. And again, you don't expect to get to 115, but Carolina's probably going to need 112 to have a chance. And that's assuming the Rangers only go the equivalent of 6-4. So more than likely tonight pretty much sealed Carolina's fate, and you'll finish second in the division. And let me be the first to remind you that I've been saying this for a while. It ain't that big a deal. It's a deal in that, man, you'd love to be ahead of the Rangers and have home ice advantage in that series, assuming you play the Rangers. But there's also no guarantee you're going to play the Rangers. So you might get home ice advantage anyway. I mean, right now it would look like the Rangers, who are in first place overall, would get whoever wild card 2 is, and right now it's Washington. I don't know. Rangers aren't probably going to beat Washington, but I also not sure Boston or Florida is not going to overtake the Rangers. And if that happens, Rangers might get Tampa. Anyway, that's just big picture stuff. So I think Carolina might have been just a little weary tonight. Didn't have a lot of energy and not a lot of will to get to the front of the net and make life more miserable for Alex Nedeljkovic. All right, let me talk about Andrei Svechnikov and a couple of things about this. First is, I know it's going to come as a shock to you, but he took a penalty tonight. Retaliated for a Michael Bunting, maybe late check, borderline. But Svechnikov retaliated with a cross-check away from the play, and so he immediately went to the penalty box because Andre gets no breaks from anybody, and he doesn't deserve them at this point. So 2 things. 4 straight games with at least 1, because in 1 there were 2. Minor penalty. That's 4 in a row. And 10 minor penalties total in the last 11 games. Unacceptable stuff. You put your team in a bad spot when you consistently take bad penalties. So there's that. The other thing is this, and I'm glad it was against the Penguins tonight. On Pittsburgh's first goal, which this hurts, Jesse Puljujärvi's goal, which was deflected on the way in. I think it went off the somebody from Carolina pretty much deflected it. It changed direction. But Jesse Puljujärvi's goal. Andre has the puck and is knocked off the puck from behind, and there's no call. My own feeling, I think that's proper. I didn't think there was a penalty there. I think you're allowed to check somebody. You're allowed to play defense. The fact that Andre went down, I mean, maybe there was enough contact to send him down. But the truth of the matter is that either Andre went down too easy, which means he embellished, which he's been called for that before, or there wasn't a foul or a penalty, however you call it a penalty. Basketball would be a foul. And I'm okay with that not being called. I really am. But it does bring up what Tripp said during the broadcast, which is Andre never gets the benefit of the doubt. The reason I said I'm glad it was against Pittsburgh, because we don't have to go back too far. I think it was the last time we played. Was it in Pittsburgh? No, it was actually a game in Carolina. I'm almost positive. Where Crosby, I think it was in overtime. Same exact place where Andre was, and not much there. And Crosby goes down, and the hand goes in the air because it's Sidney Crosby. Again, not even complaining. And I'm not suggesting that Andre deserves the same benefit of the doubt as Sidney Crosby gets. But if you put Sidney Crosby where Andrei Svechnikov was, that's a penalty a billion times in a row. But Andre's not getting that call. So Andre's just going to have to deal with it. Can't let his frustrations out. That's the real problem. The frustration penalty that he takes after Michael Bunting hits him questionably late. It doesn't have to be late. And again, I was okay with that also not being a call. The most egregious penalty that was not called was the slash on the hands on Jordan Staal late in the game. That was the real crime to not call a penalty, if you're going to call one anywhere, because that was right on the hands. Anyway, but I'm sure the officials miss a ton of calls. We're actually running out of time here. I want to get to a couple of more things, and I do want to get to some questions. I want to talk a little bit about Pyotr Kochetkov tonight, and I also want to talk about the second goal. These are two things that bothered me. First of all, Kochetkov was, for the most part, I thought very good. He made some really good saves early in the game. I thought he made some really good saves early in the third period when Pittsburgh was still pushing for another goal. But I thought he allowed himself to be small on both of the goals. The Puljujarvi shot looks to me like it was deflected, but I think that Pyotr went down, and that was that. And I think you have to be more upright and attacking. I thought he got lucky on, forget who had the opportunity. Great save on Malkin in the first. But I thought he got lucky in the third period on an opportunity, forget who it was, where they went over the shoulder but went over the bar. He's got to make himself bigger. Has to make himself bigger. I thought that was the first goal. The second goal, same deal. He was down. He was low. There was a lot of the net to shoot at above him. Not that that's where the shot went, and it was deflected over Brett Pesce. And maybe if Kochetkov is more upright, stays on his feet, he has he definitely stops that shot if he's on his feet. Same thing with the Puljujarvi shot. But the real problem I had with the goal wasn't necessarily with Pyotr. So Brett Pesce took some sort of an injury. He's definitely dealing with something. I'd be stunned if he wasn't. Because you remember the play in Washington when Washington scores a goal and Pesce is hurt. And he was really hobbling to get to the bench. We actually talked about the play to some length here on the podcast not that long ago. after that game, because if Pesce stays down in the fetal position based on where he was on the ice, the referee blows the whistle and stops play. But because Pesce struggled to get up and struggled to not leave his teammates down a man when it wasn't a power play, he allows the play to continue. If he stays down on the ice, they blow the whistle. Happened against Carolina this year. And I wonder, because Pesce had a perfect opportunity to block the shot, and Pesce turned his body away. So I am curious if he is dealing with something that would cause him in his mind to not try to block that shot. He made himself smaller. I'm sitting here talking about how Pyotr Kochetkov allowed himself to become small in the 2 goals, and Pesce stayed upright and turned his body away, and it looked like it glanced off the side of his boot and went past Kochetkov. So that was what bothered me more about the goal than the fact that I thought Kochetkov was low. So that's that. I mean, can do a little bit of digging. Maybe I can speak to Brett maybe before a game soon, but that to me was kind of an unforced error, and it happened late in the period, right off a faceoff. And it was just a clear lane. I just thought Brett could have sacrificed his body a little bit. It's easy for me to say, right? I'm not sacrificing my body, but that's what these guys do. So that goal bothered me a little bit. All right, now let me get to some questions. This will give us enough time to close up shop and get out of here. And we'll do this again on Thursday from the arena when the Hurricanes take on the Detroit Red Wings. Let's see, from Matthew, talking about trading Andrei Svechnikov. Yeah, they're not trading Andrei Svechnikov. What are we doing? What are we doing? 2 things. First of all, right now the contract is it looks like Andrei's overpaid, $7.75 million for 8 years, which started this year. It clearly looks right now like Andrei is overpaid. Is it to start this year or last year? Maybe last year. Last year. So here's the thing about it. I do believe that Andrei is playing poorly right now. For Andrei, he's okay for anybody else, but he's playing poorly for Andrei because we all expect more. And Andrei's got, I think, 4 empty net goals this year. I mean, his numbers look better than they actually are, in my opinion. It's kind of deceptive, his numbers. And a lot of that was built in a 3-week period where he, along with Sebastian Aho, were absolutely on fire. Aho averaged basically 2 points a game for a longer period of time than Andrei averaged about 1.75 points a game. But that's where a lot of those points were built, right in that 2.5 to 3 week window. So a lot of the production is sort of concentrated. And yeah, there are 4 empty net goals. But look, Aho's got empty net goals too. We're not banging him. Yes, Sebastian's, in the 30-goal club. He's got 31 goals. And more than a point a game. So he's going to get the benefit. And he's a better player. And Aho's a better player than Andrei. So, but they're not trading Svechnikov. They're just not. Not to mention, I'm fairly certain there's no trade or this. He's got some protections, whether it's modified no trade or no trade, but it goes away like 5 years into whatever it is. They're just not trading Andrei Svechnikov because at some point he's going to be a 30-plus goal scorer every year. We all know that. Yes, I know it's year 6. I also will say this. So, and I don't want to belabor this point because I want to answer 2 more questions. It really takes a year to come back from an ACL. You can come back sooner, but yeah, probably not going to be 100% the same. And I wouldn't be shocked if Andre just doesn't feel right at this point. At least not all the time. There are certainly some games where he does. But I think it can be hit or miss. So we're just over the year mark now, right? Basically at a year and a month, 13 months. So I wonder if that didn't have something to do with the fact that Andre's had a lot of empty trips to the batter's box. So they're not trading Andrei Svechnikov. Let's get that straight. From Christopher, really expected to see more of Spencer Martin. Why? Why would you expect to see more from a AAA goalie? Like, Spencer Martin has been a total revelation for the Hurricanes. He really is like looking down on the sidewalk and seeing a $100 bill. That's awesome. But, I mean, he is a break glass in case of emergency situation. I think he was the backup tonight. Freddie didn't back up. I think Spencer Martin backed up. On the road, I think you're going to see Martin back up, not the other guy. And Carolina will be back on the road Saturday, and it will be Kochetkov in Montreal, more than likely. And I think you'll see Martin back up there. But Spencer Martin's a backup goalie. And he's organizational depth, and he clearly can play. That's good. But they're trying to keep two guys fresh for the playoffs. And I actually thought we would see Anderson play a back-to-back. I appreciate Rod's commitment to the plan of rotating them all the way through. And we would be idiots to ignore Kochetkov's body of work since the middle of December. So let's remember the reason why the Hurricanes are in the position that they are in the standings, still fighting for the Metro, still fighting for the number one overall seed in the East, and maybe fighting for the number one overall seed in the NHL, is that Pyotr Kochetkov became a top 10 NHL goalie over the last 4 months. 4 months, 3 months. So let's just not forget that. Spencer Martin will only play. He might play the last game of the season. I actually even doubt that because there's going to be a big gap between the last game of the season and the first game of the playoffs. Could be as much as 6 days, to be honest. Carolina's last game is a Tuesday. They might not even start in the playoffs till Monday. I don't think they're starting Saturday in the playoffs. I think they're going to start at the earliest Sunday, maybe Monday. So there's all of that. And Martin is simply just the backup. So his third string. And then the last one I'll touch on briefly here because it does speak to Andre. Like I said during the, the network post game, if you're Rod Brindamore, I think you leave Andre, Kuznetsov, and Necas alone for now. I think you have more control over the matchups. You let that go again against Detroit on Thursday. You probably let that go again on Saturday in Montreal. And then, if it's still performing not quite up to standard, then you can make some changes at the couple of practices you have in the 4-day break. But ultimately, the Aho, Guentzel, Jarvis line doesn't get touched. I think they desperately need Jesper Fast on the ice. I promise you that team is better when Fast plays with Martinook and Staal. And then you get Taravan in with, I believe, Drury and Nason as your third scoring line. And if Andre doesn't snap to it, there is nothing wrong with Drury, Svechnikov, and Nason. That'll score goals. Let's not forget that Jack Drury had established himself as a pretty good, not a great number 2, but a pretty good player. And that's what I'm looking for. I think that it's time. I think if you're going to win a Stanley Cup, that Staal, Martinook, and Fost becomes your checking line, your identity, your example, all of that. And let them go and show how it's done. I have liked Teravainen there, by the way. I think that line has continued to be good. But they're better when Jesper Fost is on it. Flat out. All right, we're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. I appreciate all of you. Let's see, windows. They can even see, we're in a screened-in porch here. It's very nice tonight. It's almost 50 degrees. They can do something, I think it's called the breezeway. I could have gotten that wrong. But they basically enclose it, and it's really nice. Might have them come out here and do this. Anyway, aluminumcompany.com for all of your home exterior home improvement needs. So we're out of here. Do me a favor. Subscribe, like, favorite, send, tell your friend. I don't know. Lightly caress the buttons that need to be lightly caressed. And we'll see you here after every Hurricanes game. On YouTube, live about 35, 40 minutes after every Hurricanes game. Can't wait for the playoffs. Working on some cool things for these podcasts during the playoffs. With all of that, I thank you very much for spending some time with us, and we will see you next time on the Canes Corner podcast, hopefully after a win and a playoff clinching win at that over the Detroit Red Wings. Bye.